Welcome back. It is fall season and we're going to make pumpkin bread. Pumpkin bread, you can make it fresh from the pumpkin itself, but you use sugar pumpkins. Do not use the big ones, the jack-o'-lantern ones, for they are more grainy and watery. Sugar pumpkins are the best pumpkins to use for pumpkin bread. Cut it and take out the seeds, and then you're going to cook it in either a pressure cooker or the oven until it is baked through and that you could peel off the skin, because it is hard to peel the skin with a peeler. You can do that as well, but what I do is I cut it into cubes, put it in a pressure cooker. Once pressure has been met, you take it out, you take off the skin, and then you bake it to take out the water, because you don't want a watery. Cook your pumpkin, peel off the skin, dry it up in the oven, and puree it. But it's easy to puree, just like making mashed potatoes. You pureed your pumpkin, you will have this beautiful, fresh pumpkin meat to use for pumpkin bread. Now, of course, if you don't want to take all that task, at your local market, you could buy organic canned pumpkin, which is fine, and sometimes I use as well. This is a cup of pumpkin. We're going to also use 2 cups of flour, 3/4 cups of sugar, a 1/2 cup of butter, a teaspoon of your salt, baking powder, and soda, a 1/2 teaspoon of your cinnamon, ginger, and cloves. What you're going to do with your dry ingredients is you're going to sift it, and while this is sifting, we're going to beat the butter with the sugar. You're going to do a 1/2 cup of butter with 3/4 cups of sugar. While you're creaming this, you're going to prepare 1/2 cup of whole milk with a 1/2 cup of sour cream and a teaspoon of vanilla extract. So in a bowl, mix your liquids. Which we will fold in after all the dry ingredients have been put in with the butter. So again, 2 cups of flour, a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of clove, and a 1/2 teaspoon of ginger. Almost like making a pumpkin pie into a bread. And then of course your salt. So you have all your dry ingredients. You're going to sift it while your butter is churning over there with the sugar. Once your butter and sugar have been mixed in well, we are going to put in our eggs one at a time. 2 eggs at room temperature. Your butter should be at room temperature. Actually, everything should be at room temperature for baking, for the best product to come out. So it's a teaspoon of salt, baking powder, and soda each. A 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, clove, and ginger. 2 cups of flour. We're going to sift it. The 1/2 cup of butter and 3/4 cups of sugar are creamy, and we'll go over there in just a second. You've mixed a 1/2 cup of whole milk with a 1/2 cup of sour cream with a teaspoon of vanilla. You've either baked up a fresh sugar pumpkin, peeled it and pureed it, or you've bought organic, and it's essential. The other stuff has too much. Might not be just plain pumpkin. Always crack an egg in a separate bowl before you put it into your ingredients, because you never know when you get a bad one. So here's goes one. You can do it one at a time. As this is going on, preheat your oven to 325. It is essential that your oven is always preheated. So this is your butter and sugar and your eggs look like. Your pumpkin mixture. Remember, a cup of pumpkin. Remember, when you make fresh pumpkin, you should always dry it out. Pumpkin, potatoes, just like when you make mashed potatoes, before you put in your liquids when you make mashed potatoes and your potato is cooked, you should always cook your potatoes before you put in milk and butter, because these have high water content. So what you do is after you puree your fresh pumpkin, you're going to put it in the oven for a few minutes to dry out, to evaporate the water that it has. Once you do that, you need a cup of pumpkin, either canned or fresh. You need 1 cup of pureed pumpkin. So, then you're going to do in 3 parts: flour, your milk sour cream mixture, flour, your milk sour cream mixture, flour. You're going to fold it into here. Since it is already wet, we're going to start off with the dry. And do it slowly, or it's going to poof back at you. Your batter's now getting a little bit thick since you put your first part of flour. Now we're going to mix some wet. So here's your milk and sour cream mixture with some vanilla extract, a teaspoon. Make sure you whisk it up a little bit. Hello, people. Fall. We're going to make so much this fall. We have our pumpkin bread, we have apple pie, pecan pie, pumpkin pie. I make a lot in the fall time. I make a lot all the time, but usually in the fall. I love the fall. So mixing your wet. Your wet's in 2 batches, and your dry is in 3. Dry, wet, dry, wet. You're folding it in. You dry, then your wet, which I just did. We're going to now do some more dry. Slowly, or it's going to come back at you. I actually used skim milk with low-fat sour cream and light or no-fat half and half. So I would substitute. Like it's a half a cup of milk, you can do a 1/4 cup of low-fat half and half, and a 1/4 cup of skim milk and that equals your half of milk with the half a cup of light sour cream. That's what I use. Your eggs, and for your butter, I use a butter flavored shortening. So butter flavored shortening. Some water in the shortening because butter has water, which is funny. We just evaporated the water from the pumpkin, but you need to add water into your shortening. Part of the flour folding mixture. What we're going to do next is prepare our bread pan. You're going to oil it. You can also fold in here some walnuts, or you can do walnuts and dried cranberries. It's up to you. I usually don't make my breads with too many nuts because of the nut allergies, but I like it with walnuts. It gives it a nice flavor. Fold in the rest of the mixture by hand, because we have to just scrape down the sides. Remember, when you do the folding of a full bowl, go down the center, because sometimes it just doesn't blend from the center up. So I go down through the center, scrape through the sides, and fold that way. Mixed your pumpkin, your flour, your milk, your eggs. Here's your batter. We're going to put it in our preheated oven of 325. Part of the batter will be muffins, and the other part will be our bread. If you want to, you can mix some walnuts. You're going to bake it for an hour or until your toothpick comes out clean. And we'll see you in about an hour to see how yummy it looks. Well, our muffins are done. We put in a cake tester. It comes out clean. Prior to baking your pumpkin bread or your muffins, I sprinkle a little bit of sugar before I put it into the oven to help it give a nice crystal top. And let's take a look at the bread. Here we go, our pumpkin bread. Beautifully done. I, again, here put some sugar to crystallize the top and make a nice beautiful crust. You don't have to do that, but I do that with the breads, like my banana bread and so forth. But my pumpkin bread, my pumpkin muffins are done. And I hope you enjoyed making pumpkin bread. See you soon at Cocinarista Cook. Enjoy!